Uh-oh. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Bonjour, Alexander here. With me I have Brad, voice of Willie in Can't Boo-lieve.
Hello. I'm here.
We are here and we are ready, or going to get ready anyways, to read the first part of Abel's backstory, but there are some housekeeping things going on. Holy shit, Pale Bunny, thank you. If at any point the audio seems wonky, please let me know. Because we know how it is with streamers and
Professional.
right.
Too professional, even.
Hello, June. Welcome. Train of thought. Jesus Christ. I'm
Audio.
well, no, I had this
uh,
thing planned out. But of course, if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget.
Completely understandable. I'll let you do your thing.
Ugh. Yes, the thing. Um, what were my housekeeping tasks now?
I, uh,
Brad, why
this
aren't
is,
you psychic?
well,
Yeah.
I can, I don't know. I can dance. They can't see me, though. I can distract them.
Um, so usually with my readings, usually I, get all fancied up. But this reading's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because I am co-reading with Brad. For those who don't know Abel, which I'm sure everyone here does, but just in case, I will give a little quick recap of Abel. Let me find. That's not what I wanted. Let me pull that up real quick, and I will do a brief recap before we jump into the fun.
Perfect.
Oh, that's a video. That's not what I want.
I'm trying to figure out like the backing music I want to play for myself while we read. And the weirdest part is I pulled up like calm, relaxing music, and it came up with like some Lord of the Rings shit, and I'm like, I don't think this fits Abe.
No, no, it
it's
doesn't.
it's like some majestic Celtic like some music and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
that's probably not it.
That
All
would
right,
kill your
sorry.
mood. So Abel Rose is a character that I play in Can't Boo-lieve. He is 25. He is our bisexual being. Um, he's very androgynous and pretty with long black wavy hair, as I'm sure you can see by the artwork displayed that I had Pookie draw. Um, so he comes from an upper middle class family that always acted like they were fancier than they really were. And despite them spoiling Abel with whatever he wanted because he was the baby, he grew annoyed by their fake personalities as he got older and just decided one day that he couldn't stand them, so he moved to a college a few cities away and just cut off contact with them. Because that's the appropriate thing to do.
We Yeah, we've all been there, honestly.
Yeah. So he's going to school for a medical laboratory tech, which is ironic considering he's a vampire now. Um, so,
Sorry, that's funny.
well, no, it absolutely is funny. Um, Especially given where his story is going. Alright. So, um, I guess we are going to dive in then with Abel's tale.
Oh,
Um,
good.
y'all make sure that you have your drinks ready. Get your little snacks, your little snacks, as I say to Getty. Um,
Schnicky schnick.
yeah, he likes the little snacks.
He would. I love that thing so much.
Little chunk cat just running and, you know,
little
snacks.
little chonky.
Little
Ooh,
chunk go wrong.
this is definitely too loud here. Let me throw this down here.
Oh,
Some doomer music. I feel like that's perfect for Abe.
doomer music.
Yeah. You ever heard of Corpse Husband?
No, I haven't, but I'm intrigued.
I got you covered. Um,
Fair.
yeah, I'll link it to you in a bit.
Okay.
There you go.
All
But
right.
anyway, all right, we all ready to go? Everybody got they got their snacks, the snacky snacks, and all the drinks and stuff.
Hell yeah, I got the snacks.
All right, now bring it down a little bit. This isn't exciting. All right, this is just mellowing.
I
No, it
mean,
could be exciting. You could scream if you want. That's fine. We won't be able to hear you though.
I hope I don't scare anyone because there are some spooky, spooky
Oh god,
parts. English. Here we go. I'm
you sh-
already getting tongue tied.
dude, you should have warned me about the spooky stuff. I'm scared now.
Oh no, I linked you to it 3 times and you just
Hey,
skimmed it.
no, that's not true.
It is true. I linked it to
I
you 3 times.
I I didn't see the
It,
spooky stuff right
each time
away.
you lost the link. Whose fault is that?
Okay, I feel like we're going a little bit. You know what? We're getting off track. Um, chat's with me. All right, whenever you're ready, man.
All right, I will start off. We will be rotating just about every paragraph. There is one paragraph that's like, I mean, parts, not paragraphs. There is one part that's 2 paragraphs. I will read through that, and then I guess the third part essentially is where you're going to come in, Brad.
Okay, yeah, just let me know what's up here.
All right, let's get down to it. We're going to start with part 1, finally, for those who have been patiently waiting. Thank you. Abel Rose, heir to the illustrious Rose family, located in some fancy house on the corner of Harker Road, behind some fancy iron gates in some populated metropolitan best forgotten. This, of course, was nothing more than a vaguely weaved tale that Abel would share from time to time, half-heartedly at best, even jokingly tacking on one of those smug, just kidding remarks at the very end to make people confused after asking him where he was from, or even more personal questions about his family life. Oftentimes, it would have been better to simply state, "I'm not exactly comfortable giving out those details." But he found the white lie to be more amusing and satisfactory, especially when he could see the look of genuine interest build in their eyes, that little spark of fantasy start to swell, just to let them down. Does that satisfy your curiosity, Hiromi? Abel asked, glancing to his lab partner through his goggles. Not much younger than the man across from her, Hiromi came up to Abel's shoulders in height and sported short black hair styled in a cute bob cut. Abel often teased her that she could have easily cosplayed a character from an anime he once watched when he was a teenager. You're of the hair. Was that her name? Not in the slightest, she blatantly replied back, watching as he gently tapped the test tube he held, pouring just a single drop into a much larger beaker before writing down something in her lab book. Ah, well, that's unfortunate then. He offered a frown. Care to toss another dart at the wheel of questionnaires? I could do this all night, you know. I don't get why you have to be so secretive about everything. It's normal for kids our age to ask things like this, so why continue the evasiveness? It's not like your family runs an underground mafia or is into drug deals. You have a lot of people curious about you, Abel, and, oh, I don't know, maybe giving a straightforward answer might actually make people leave you alone? Though I guess the mysterious aura is fitting for you. Mafias? Drug deals. Wild assumptions there, eh? He let out a soft laugh before smirking to himself. Let their imaginations soar for all I care. People talk whether you want them to or not. Besides, aren't I already offering an answer? Who's to say if it's true or not, other than myself, He paused for a moment, taking a second to look back at the chemicals in hand before setting them in the appropriate racks and continuing. Anyway, Not to intentionally change the subject or anything, but what else do we have left to do? Hiromi slid the log to him from across the table. Looks like we got it all, Einstein. And fairly quickly, too, no surprise. Or perhaps the recommended time allotted by the professor. I'll bet money that he'll find any rhyme or reason to accuse us of cheating again. It's like he can't accept the fact that this is just something we're good at. How about Chinese instead? Abel asked with a laugh before going serious. Look, Hiromi, it's okay to boast that we're the best lab team around. Stage 10 cleared with nothing short of perfect scores, beautifully and flawlessly. Honestly, if our professor wasn't such a prick, we could have had all our labs done for the whole quarter in a week at most. He glanced over the log before marking in his initials and sliding it back. I guess that means we're free to leave then. Placing a hand on his hip, Abel then looked off in the distance, gazing at nothing in particular. Shit, I might be able to finish that book tonight given how much time we've saved. Taking the log, Hiromi put it into her bag before starting to clean up their area. Which one? Is that a question you're capable of answering? Abel laughed again, carefully disposing of the chemicals. Ouch, Hiromi. You're not holding back any punches today, are you? Can't believe you're still so dead set on getting an answer. The book I'm reading, however, is nothing of real interest. Just one my roommate told me I should read. It's called The Wheel of Time. The series is pretty big, but I'm told the series itself is very rich in lore. I'm only just finishing the first book of many. With their stations cleaned, the both of them walked over to a pair of sinks, washing and then drying their hands. Huh, I'll have to check it out then. Is that one you would recommend? She asked, removing her goggles. If you like worlds that immerse yourself in fantasy, make-believe, and magic, of course I would. But it takes too much energy to speak highly of these things. I could recommend dozens of literature, but ultimately it comes down to the person inquiring to put in just as much effort into picking it up. He walked up to her, playfully brushing her bangs. So, you have plans this weekend? Blood rushed to Hiromi's face as she quickly swatted Abel's hand and looked away. Not that it's any of your business, but I do, actually. Oh, I see. Well, I'll leave you to them then. Placing his goggles back on the rack next to hers, and putting on his reading glasses, Abel then snatched up his bag and began to walk out the classroom. Stay safe, Hiromi. I'll catch you next week. Idiot, she breathed. Mysterious wasn't Abel's strong suit, or more so, not an accurate depiction of him despite his general silence. It more or less came down to that he didn't like people knowing his business, or really like people much in general. The same applied to knowing of other people's business. There were a few he didn't mind and enjoyed spending time with, sure, but crowds, not really his thing. He had no issue working in teams or with those close to him like Steve, and Steve's gaming buddies, or even Hiromi. He was just more of a get straight to the point kind of guy. He kept a hand in his lab coat pocket as he made way from the campus grounds to the dormitories, all while listening to the idle gossip around on such a crisp autumn evening. People talking about the latest memes, life stories, classes and homework, even sharing pictures of their pets. Ah, the college life. Nothing new, nothing interesting. It would be the perfect time to lose himself into some tracks from Camelot. Fishing out his AirPods, he placed them in his ears, carrying himself towards the building that was his temporary home for the next few years. Brad.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Sorry, I was engrossed. All right. Once his room came into sight, he tapped out the AirPod in his ear, taking it out to exchange it with a small key that rested in his pocket. As he turned the knob to his dorm, a rather masculine voice fluttered out, as though putting in far too much effort to sound seductive. Welcome home, honey.
Oh, the
Oh,
joy. I'm sorry, I'm going to be
sorry.
reading Abel's lines.
Go for it.
Oh, the joys of college life in a corporate owned world.
Abel breathed, looking to his roommate. The man known as Steve, in his honest opinion, didn't look like he'd be anywhere near as interested in his profession as he was, if you judge a book by its cover, that is.
The fact that I have the honor of listening to a faithless man sweet talk me for another full year at most is astounding.
His roommate frowned. Walking up to him, he stood a few inches taller than Abel, and couldn't hide the fact that he lifted weights and was physically fit. His soft white t shirt fitting perhaps a little too well on his upper arms. Unlike Abel, the man kept his blond hair short and trimmed up neat. You could at least act like you enjoyed it, you know? The ladies might start thinking you're asexual or something. Abel sneered, pushing past him, immediately heading towards the little kitchenette.
And if I was, what would be wrong with that? What business would it be if there's plenty of asexuals find themselves in healthy relationships and marriage?
Opening up the refrigerator door, he immediately gave it a once over before plucking out a can of pop, cracking the tab, and slamming the door shut with his hip.
I'm more interested in my workload for school is all. I don't particularly have time to chase around potential mates and explore what elevates my hormones per se.
Huh. The man leaned in across the counter that separated them. And what was it you planned on doing after you got out again? Abel smirked, his face nothing short of being smug.
Landing a job at a big name pharmaceutical and moving far away from here as possible.
There's a term for that, Abe. It's called a life of grandeur.
Yeah, well, I get that enough. And I know for a while it'll be hard to get on my feet, especially when student loans start rolling in, but it gives me ambition and a sense of self-worth, so I'm rolling with it at this point.
His roommate frowned at this.
Besides, what exactly was it you planned on doing again, Steve?
Abel cast him a glance as he took a seat on the couch in their living room, watching the man look down at his feet.
Are you really in a position to criticize what it is I want to do?
Well, no, but
Once this is all ended and I graduated, that's all there is to it. You'll either have an empty dorm or you can simply have Amanda move in.
Steve let out a sigh. You could at least act like moving out of the dorms upsets you a little, you know? I'll be losing a friend here. Abel cocked a brow, setting down the now empty can before leaning back into the couch and snatching up the book that rested on the stand beside him. Let's see, sorry, 1 second there. I never. Is that you? Oh, okay. I'm like, is that my part? All right, sorry. I never said I wouldn't be sad. It's just something that is
Oh,
so
wait.
far off.
Hold
I
on.
was gonna.
I lost where I'm at. Where am I at right now?
Okay, I'm like that doesn't look like me.
Oh,
All
wait, nope, that's me. I've
right,
lost myself in words. I
gotcha.
never said I wouldn't be sad. It's just something that's so far off in the future, it's not worth me investing my energy into worrying about.
Is that how all those sciencey folks talk?
I'm just being a realist. It's nothing to do with my field of study or future profession, Steve. I'm simply stating facts.
Thanks, huh? Steve couldn't hide the fact that he was obviously hurt by Abel's straightforwardness, but also he knew this was just who he was. The two had gotten into what some would deem quarrels over the clash in personality and different outlooks on life. But those differences are also what brought them closer over the last 2 years. They had been dorm mates.
Anyway, do you really have time to be standing there trying to reason with me? Don't you have a date with your girlfriend or
Abel looked down at his book, furrowing his brows.
maybe it was work? I think it was your shift at the gym, right?
He looked up at Steve, whose expression immediately went from hurt to a brimming smile of delight at his promise. The promise that Abel would try to do better, remembering his schedule. Abel still couldn't see why it really mattered so much to Steve. What his roommate did was entirely his own business and had nothing to do with him whatsoever. And yet, it really meant a lot to Steve that Abel knew where he was. Something about it just being normal for roommates, just be aware of their schedules. Was that it? Steve gave a nod. Yeah, I work at the gym tonight, so I'll be a bit late getting home. It should be around midnight. Cracking open his book, Abel's eyes immediately fell to the pages, picking out the place where he had just left off.
So be it. Just don't go losing your key again. I'll probably be asleep at that point, so same rules apply. Don't go stomping around like an elephant when you get back.
Ah, but you love being woken up when the dead asleep when you have to let me back in.
Hardly.
Steve let a hearty Steve let out a hearty laugh before snatching up his backpack. All right then. See you later, Abe.
Au revoir, doofus.
Once his roommate had left, Abel let out a long, drawn-out sigh, immediately shutting his book.
3, 2, 1.
On the count of one, Steve burst back in through the door, shouting, "Ah, crap! I forgot something!"
In the fridge, top shelf.
The man stumbled over to the fridge, whipping the door open and grabbing a container in a hurry before running back out the door. Thanks, Abe. See you later. Abel then opened his book back up, growing comfortable as he sank back into the couch.
Every time. You would think he would remember food above all else at some point or another, given how vital it is. I don't think I'll ever understand someone driven solely by emotion in the present. Having the whole place to himself for a change, the night of peace and comfort seemed to pass relatively quickly for Abel. He was able to successfully finish the book he had been wanting to. Perhaps he should consider letting Hiromi borrow it next, as she did express interest. The thought lasted for a brief second before Abel shrugged. He gave a stretch and a stifled yawn before standing up and retreating back to his room. He didn't even need to glance at the clock to know it was already late. Thankfully, he thought to himself, tomorrow he didn't have to work. Mind you, his job at the local Hot Topic wasn't awful, but he would openly admit it was something he didn't care for, especially given he had somehow been promoted to a management role against his will. At least, the discount on clothing was fair, he continued thinking as he pulled out a pair of boxers and some pumpkaboo printed pajama bottoms. Maybe he might make some progress on Dragon Quest, or maybe Octopath Traveler. A soft hum left from his lips at this. So many games to play, yet so little time. He walked across the dorm's living room, taking off his low-cut steel gray sweater along the way, entering the bathroom where he would take a hot shower before returning back to his room, dressed for bed. He crawled beneath the sheets and snuggled up to a pillow before reaching over to turn out the lights. A restful sleep was all he asked for going into the weekend. And yet, he would find that was not the case. Abel rolled over on his side, hearing the sound of the most pitiful knocking imaginable, and the soft blabbing of a grown man who somehow had lost his key, yet again. Throwing himself out of bed, the man walked to the door, his piercing emerald eyes glaring daggers as he swung it open. "Steve, we talked about this before you left." Before realizing what happened, Steve threw himself into him. The man smelled of alcohol and was a sobbing wreck. Aggravated sigh to follow, he shut the door and gave his roommate a gentle pat on the head and some half-halted words of comfort. "There, there. Deep breath, Steve. Please don't go getting snot all over me like that. At least use a napkin or something. I literally just took a shower not that long ago." The corner of his lips twitched as Steve looked up to him with pitiful eyes like that of a golden retriever.
What do I do, Abe?
He blabbed. "How about we get you seated on the couch so that you can tell me what happened, you drunken buffoon? Maybe then I can impart on you my wisdom." Steve gave a slow nod, following Abel to the couch where the both of them sat, Steve's head resting in Abel's lap as he gently played with his hair.
I I don't know what I'm doing wrong, Abe.
"Problems with Amanda?" Steve sobbed harder, making Abel sigh in frustration. "Good Lord," he grunted. "And what, pray tell, was it this time?" The emphasis on this implying that it had not only happened multiple times before, but always ended up in Steve assuming the worst or blowing things out of proportion. The man always needing that extra push to go communicate with others like an adult.
So, so I was there working, right?
I wasn't there, so I can't agree to that, but we'll say yes for now.
And and Amanda walked in,
Okay.
and she was with this
Steve's voice cracked as he started to sob harder.
she was with another man.
Abel let out a soft sigh. Hey, easy there, big guy. I'm sure there's a misunderstanding somewhere, okay? Why don't you go talk to her? Did you talk to her while she was there?
I I couldn't. I All I could do was hide.
You hid from your girlfriend. The sigh that followed after the last held more exasperation as Abel looked down at the sobbing wreck in his lap. Steve, are you sure it wasn't? Oh, I don't know. Her brother?
Her brother?
His voice cracked again.
Why would she go to the gym with her brother?
Really, Steve? I don't know. Maybe because her brother is super into sports and they're both like athletes. It's really not all that uncommon for people to go to the gym with their friends and family.
But why would she go to the gym with her brother?
So, let's take a step back for a minute, you drunken idiot. You met Amanda at the gym, right?
Yeah.
And when you did, she was by herself, right?
What's your point, Abe?
Steve, how often do you have to step in when women are being harassed at your gym?
Mm, well, all the time. Why?
Abel flicked Steve in the forehead. My point is that maybe when you weren't on clock, your girlfriend had something like this happen by complete chance, but she didn't know how to bring it up to you, nor did she want to burden you with it because she knows you'll get really protective over her and go off on the wrong fucking people. Jesus Christ, Steve.
S- So, so that was her brother?
I don't know. It could have been a guy friend. People are allowed to have friends of all genders. I'm just making an educated guess here, but I can tell you that you won't know unless you go and ask her. Otherwise, you're just going to sit here, idling in your thoughts until you sober up into the early hours, further depriving me of sleep.
As How do you bring something like that up?
Very carefully, obviously. It's a sensitive topic, you know? Steve looked towards the TV across from them, growing quiet.
I mean, yeah, I get that. And if something like that did happen, I guess I can understand her not knowing how to bring it up to me.
Great! That's a step in the right direction. How are you feeling?
I mean, still not great, but
Fantastic! Abel abruptly stood up, throwing Steve off of him and onto the floor. I'm going back to bed then.
Abel, wait.
Abel simply waved back before slamming his door shut, leaving his roommate there on the carpeted floor. It was no more than a half hour later before Steve came stumbling into Abel's room with a blanket and pillow in hand.
Abe, are you awake?
No, he replied. I'm dead.
Can I sleep with you?
Abel opened his eyes, glaring at the man standing in the doorway. What are you, 5? Seriously, Steve?
Please, Abe, I don't want to be by myself right now.
Abel rolled his eyes, letting out a groan. Fine, I guess. Just for tonight. But first thing in the morning, your ass is going right over to Amanda's and you're going to talk to her. Capiche? Steve nodded, crawling into bed. I swear, you're one of the few guys who wouldn't find something like this awkward.
Sorry. If toxic masculinity hadn't become so mainstream, I'll be honest, Abe. I really do like the ideas of sleepovers and blanket forts. I don't think that's something you should that should nor. I don't think that's something that should be normalized just for children. Adults can enjoy those things too, you know.
Whatever you say, Steve, just shut your fucking face and sleep. Steve nearly responded with a smile
Okay.
before going silent for a few minutes.
Hey, Abe.
The corner of Abel's lips sneered as he let out an annoyed, "Yeah?"
I know you don't like people and kind of suck when it comes to understanding them, but thanks for being so awesome.
Uncertain if that was meant to be a compliment or not, Abel merely replied back, Uh, thanks. I guess. Thoughts of kicking his roommate out of his bed did linger until he finally gave in to sleep. It was pointless to fight back anymore when his friend fell into this mindset, the last hazy words drifting to his ears as he swore Steve snuggled into his chest, being,
You're the best roommate ever. The following morning, Abel woke up to the smell of burnt sausage and the sound of the fire alarm going off, which was followed up by a swift, "Ah, shit! Shush! Don't, you're gonna wake him up and he's gonna be pissed! Ah, Christ! Please, just be quiet!" There was a loud sound, almost like a crash, and then silence. Peeling the covers down from his face, already the man was glaring emerald daggers once more as he slowly sat up, getting out of bed in a silent storm that began brewing inside.
Steve, what the fuck are you doing?
He hissed to himself. As Abel opened the door, he saw his roommate laying on the floor, holding the fire alarm in what looked like a typical wrestler pose, something like an arm lock. Immediately, Steve looked at him like a deer in the headlights. Good morning, Abe. Abel pinched pinched the bridge of his nose, shutting his eyes briefly.
Steve, I'm going to regret asking this, but what are you doing?
Well, I was trying to make you breakfast like any other good roommate would, but this noisy bastard right here decided to mouth off to me, he replied, looking at the fire alarm locked between his muscles.
You're aware those things have batteries, right?
Wait, seriously? Abel crossed his arms.
Yeah, I am. Wait, did you not know this?
Steve began sweating bullets. I thought you kind of got rid of the smoke and they shut themselves up. Abel sighed, walking over to Steve and taking the alarm from him. Once he popped the batteries out, he threw it back on the ground.
There, problem solved.
Quickly, his roommate got off the floor and raced back into the kitchen.
Not that it matters much right now, but they also have a reset button on them as well. Once you've cleared the smoke, then you hit the button and it shuts off.
Steve looked back over his shoulders while pulling down some plates from the cabinets. Did you learn this in one of your safety classes for chemistry? Abel, who sat. I'm sorry. so, so silly. Anyway, Abel, who had just sat down across from him at the counter, stared astonished at the surface before them. That quickly became covered by a plate of breakfast foods. He then rested down an arm, holding his head. The urge to ask almost tipped the scale on knowing well that perhaps Steve really didn't know. Instead, he let out a sigh, followed by,
No, I learned it in elementary school, the same place where they teach you basic safety, like how to use a fire extinguisher and how not to run around with sharp objects.
the moment Steve sat down from him, ready to eat with a forkful of food, Abel then took the opportunity to corner him in conversation.
This morning's happy accident set aside, just so you know you're going to talk to Amanda today, whether you want to or not.
His roommate flinched, sending bits of scrambled egg all over the table, Abel remaining unmoved.
I've been your roommate long enough to know you only do things like this when you've done something horribly wrong, like the time you threw the Switch Joy-Con through the TV while playing Pokemon Let's Go, and tried to cover it up by taping poorly drawn football figures all over the place, or when you know you have to do something you don't like, I'm aware of, and have such high hopes I'll forget about it, like today's instance, of which, by the way, I'm not forgetting.
Abel took hold of the coffee beside him, sipping it slowly while watching his roommate avoid eye contact. Uh,
Go on.
First off, Steve replied, looking back at him, you know, art isn't my major. Secondly, it's not my fault they didn't come with straps like the Wii mode.
Steve, the straps were literally right beside the TV stand, and you taped paper over the TV.
The man across from him let out a sigh before painting his face serious. Abe, you know your hair is really pretty when it's all over the place. Like Medusa from uh, Celtic mythology? In a calm yet threatening tone, he replied back,
You're about .5 seconds away from having scalding hot coffee thrown at your face. Care to try again?
I,
Look, I'm not about to be that person to make you walk across the hall to your girlfriend's dorm to apologize by yourself.
Steve's face filled with delight.
But you will be apologizing by yourself.
He took another sip of his coffee.
I'll walk you over there. But whatever happens between the two of you is between the two of you, not with me. Understood?
Yeah. Abel continued to sip his coffee as silence fell between them for a brief second. So, what are your plans for today? Looking back to his friend, he hid a sneer behind his cup, noticing Steve trying to change the topic again.
We can discuss that after you've returned from Amanda's.
Okay. Steve flinched, looking back down at his plate. Okay.
Just throwing it out there that I'm lavishing in the fact you're so defeated right now.
Well, it's not like you've ever had to apologize for something you messed up.
Because I don't mess up.
Oh, yeah?
Bet.
Steve took a moment to think really hard. Um,
Take your time thinking.
Abel said with a smirk.
While you do that, I'm gonna go finish up for getting ready for walking you to the morgue.
Aw, come on, Abe! Steve shouted from his seat. Don't word it like that! Abel turned around, giving finger guns to Steve before slipping away into the bathroom so he could ready himself for the day.
After a half hour had passed, the two found themselves only a few doors down from them across the hall. Abel drew up his hand, ready to knock, only for Steve to panic. Would you just act normal, Steve?
It's hard, okay?
I'm sure. It was hard for me to not kill you last night, yet here we are. The two waited a moment until Amanda finally answered, her hair in a classic messy bun and dressed up in their university's volleyball uniform. Oh, hey! Her eyes looked to Steve. Oh, hey, honey. Y'all want to come play some volleyball?
Hey.
Steve replied sheepishly, causing her to raise a brow and look back to Abel.
Uh,
No, not this time. Anyway, I'm just here to drop our kid off. It's your turn for custody, Abel replied. He needs to spend some time with you, so he's not trying to burn our dorm down. Steve, did you try cooking sausage again? Amanda shouted. He flinched, looking at his feet.
I, maybe.
Abel offered a pair of finger guns to Amanda before walking away. You'll have fun. I'm gonna go do that thing I specialize in, that is to say, being reclusive. And with that, he quickly retreated back to the dorm, letting out a heavy sigh. He was sure Steve would be there for a while, so now was a better time than any to do what he normally did: clean up after the both of them. It was a process that shouldn't have been incredibly demanding, but it took perhaps a good 2 hours at most, especially getting rid of the smell of burnt grease, something that occasionally made Abel feel nauseous. Abel threw himself back onto the couch, letting out a yawn. He stared up at the ceiling, taking in the accomplishment of a neat home and the thought of an afternoon nap. The thought quickly became afterthought, however, as he found himself waking up to Steve walking back into their dorm. What time is it? Abel asked, sitting up. Did I seriously fall asleep? He looked at the couch. This thing is too damn comfortable for its own good. His eyes then looked to his roommate. Well, how'd it go? Steve walked up and scooped Abel up, giving him a tight bear hug and forcing the air from his lungs. Steve, too tight. Ribs.
No, right, sorry.
Letting go, Steve sat him down before taking a step back.
You were definitely right about last night, Abe. So, thank you for helping calm me down.
Abel raised a brow. About her brother or about the harassment?
Both.
Shit, he breathed. Well, I'm glad you two were able to have a good talk, but, you should really probably talk to your managers about ways to prevent those kind of things from happening. Having a safe and inclusive space is very important. Steve rubbed the back of his head.
Yeah. Amanda said the same thing.
Abel then looked to the clock in the kitchenette, squinting his eyes. Did I seriously sleep the whole afternoon away?
Wait, you were sleeping this whole time?
Abel looked back to his doormate, giving a small nod. Yeah, I mean, I cleaned the whole place, but that only took, like, a few hours. Crossing his arms, he gave a soft sigh. Was I really that tired, or have I been pushing myself too hard again? Damn it all. And here I was looking forward to playing more Fire Emblem or something. No, wait. I was going to advance my file on Dragon Quest. Unable to delve further into his thoughts, Abel found himself interrupted by Steve once more.
If you were sleeping, I guess that means you haven't had lunch or dinner yet.
No, I haven't, he admitted. Why? The taller man offered a smile.
Let's get Chinese tonight then. I'm starving.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Oh, hell yeah, Abel exclaimed, his mood quick to change. Chinese and bad horror movies.
deal.
Steve replied back, equally as excited. Abel took hold of the remote, powering on the TV, as his roommate walked into the kitchen, picking up one of the takeout menus from the nearby restaurant. Make sure you order some of those crab rangoons. I have an unfathomable craving for those right now.
You want the usual?
Steve asked, looking to him. Looking back, he gave a nod. Yeah, you bought last time, so let me buy tonight.
You sure?
Yeah. Abel quickly whipped out his wallet, tossing his card across the room before browsing Netflix, select choice on horror movies. Just don't buy the whole damn restaurant, okay? My folks might be well off, but I'm certainly not made of cash. Steve smiled, about to say something before someone finally answered. The sound of the conversation Abel's roommate was having seemed to fade out, but the man's emerald eyes fixed on the classic titles before him. The Blob, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Nosferatu, The Thing, The Invisible Man, Mystery of the Wax Museum. The list went on and on. At one point or another, Abel remembered questioning when the service acquired such a fine selection, not that it really mattered. It was strange, sure. Given the last time he had booted it up, there was next to nothing. His brows furrowed, as his stare fell to the carpet beneath his feet, as though sorting through thoughts. Had it already been time for them to switch out selections? He hadn't recalled an email being sent out. Strange as it was, he glanced back up as one of the trailers he had been idling on began to play out. But it wasn't to the movie at all. Static. It was static. That was all there was. The screen was like that of an analog TV's, screeching in its mix of black, white, and grays, as though someone had shut off a fine retro game from some few decades back, and then what looked like old bits of film reel began to crawl across the screen. Crawl, as though they were severed worms trapped between the pieces of the liquid crystal display panels that made up the TV itself. As Abel went to narrow his eyes, wondering if what he had seen were real or reminiscence of a dream, Steve called out to him, thus pulling him back from whatever trance he had fallen into.
They said it'll be ready in 10 minutes, Abe. Want to be in my ride or die?
Huh? The man looked back to his roommate, taking a moment to process what had happened. Steve stared back, concern lacing his brows. He had half expected his roommate to retort back with something sarcastic at the very least. After all, this was Abel he was talking to.
Do you want to ride with me to pick up the food, or?
Abel dropped the remote and immediately walked over to his friend. Nope, I'm fine. Perhaps a little hungry. Let's just go. Takeout doesn't taste good at all when it's cold.
It sounds good to me.
As the two went to step out of their dorm, Abel stole one quick glance back at the TV just to make sure he wasn't seeing things before locking the door tight behind them.
The ride there and back had been in silence, the dark haired man preoccupied with the strange incident that occurred as he stared out the window. He had a nasty tendency to fall victim to his head from time to time, often enjoying silence rather than senseless chatter. But perhaps that was the scientific side of his brain, the gears turning in a haphazard attempt to understand what he had seen or any logical reason as to why it happened. He knew what it was, sure. That all was common sense, but what he couldn't bring himself to grasp was why it had happened. Was her TV bad again? Did Steve messed with the settings or something? Or was it something more simple along the lines as a general error with the streaming service? There was a reason, and he wanted to know. He needed to know. When the two returned to the vicinity of their dorm, Abel immediately spoke up.
Steve,
Yeah?
we need to talk.
Steve flinched. You're not upset because I jokingly told the cashier you were my boyfriend, are you? Look, it was hard to resist, okay? She was eyeing me hard, dude. Seriously. And in my defense, you always said I could play that card if I found myself in an awkward situation like that. Abel stared at Steve for a solid minute in awkward silence, trying to figure out what he was talking about and how to even reply to that statement. Wait,
Wait, hold
oh,
up.
sorry.
You did what now?
when we, when we get, sorry, when we went to get our food, yeah, you were just kind of zoning out the whole way there and back, dude. Steve replied, setting the food on the countertop between them. I just told her that we came to pick up her order for day night.
That's not what I.
With a long and frustrated sigh, Abel tried to collect himself, pinching the bridge of his nose.
Listen, when you were on the phone placing our order, you didn't hear anything strange, did you?
The blonde man, the blonde-haired man looked at him, raising a brow curiously. No. Why? Abel crossed his arms, looking back to the television.
Strange. There was a period of time where it was all just static.
He glanced back to Steve.
You're positive you didn't hear anything?
Aside from that car outside. Just the sound of the restaurant. Just the sound of the restaurant workers feverishly cooking in the background. Hey, sure wasn't a power surge?
Power surge.
He scoffed. Steve simply nodded, forcing Abel to sneer. His voice was stern. Firstly,
Firstly, if it had been something as simple as a power surge, you would have noticed that. Secondly, modern day technology doesn't commonly have static, Steve. Most cases, the screen is just pure black and it doesn't make a sound. If you're lucky enough to get the damn thing to turn on.
Abel pointed at the TV, distressed.
What I saw was like we had an old analog TV up idling on channel 3.
Steve fell deep into thought for but a brief moment before nodding his head in agreement. I see, he finally said, before following up with, I think we should hook up one of those, sorry. I think we should hook one of those up at some point and play a classic game of competitive duck hunters. We can make it interesting, like wagering bets or something.
Were you even listening to me?
Abel snapped.
Duck hunters? Is that all you can think about right now? I'm talking about the fucking TV, Steve.
Steve reached into the bag between them, pulling out a crab rangoon while making fake robotic sound effects. I wasn't prepared for this. Beep, boop, beep. Energy food response activated. Hangry Abe in sight. Activate mouth seeking food missile. The man then shoved it into his friend's mouth, watching Abel glare murderous daggers, swatting his hand away.
Oof, oof.
Abe, please chew first, then swallow. Don't waste food. There was a silence before he quickly added on, unless you want me to perform CPR. Reluctant to follow orders, the last addition to Steve's potential threat forced the man into swallowing before resuming his standard glare.
Don't you ever do that again unless you wish to lose both of your hands. Also, pretty sure you're not even certified to perform CPR, let alone qualified.
Abel stated, crossing his arms. You're missing the joke.
No, I'm not. I know what you were getting at, you overly flirtatious bastard, and I'm telling you right now that you'll see a side of me much nastier than my mood should you even attempt such a thing on me. Amanda will find your dismembered body in a neatly tied trash bag out front her door. Do I make myself clear?
Steve puffed out his cheeks before looking away.
Steve.
Abel repeated.
Do I make myself clear?
The man glanced to his roommate across the countertop before giving a small nod.
I don't hear a yes or a no, but moving on from your bold attempt to distract me and almost forfeit your life entirely in the process, I can assume we're ready to watch a movie or something.
Oh. Steve turned to face Abel, his expression short of nothing but curiosity. What movie did you pick, by the way? Abel looked away, snatching the bag of food while making way toward the couch.
One might call it a surprise.
As he flopped down onto the cushion, he noticed Steve staring back quizzically before walking over and doing much of the same. So, you didn't pick out anything?
I might have if you had been paying attention to our conversation from earlier.
I was. You said something about static. Abel looked at Steve again while reaching for his box of General Tso's chicken and a pair of chopsticks.
Then what was the point of even asking in the first place?
I don't know, the man replied back with a frown, taking hold of his box. His voice fell soft. Conversation, I guess? I don't really. Silence wedged its way between them, even as Abel took hold of the remote and threw on the invisible man. Usually it was Steve who was unable to stay quiet. And this time around, Abel found himself becoming annoyed at the fact that his roommate hadn't said anything in the first few moments of the movie. No witty comments, no mockery, nothing. He just sat there munching away. Abel let out a sigh, setting down his half finished box of Chinese before him. This was eating away at him more than he cared to admit.
Hey, look, I'm sorry for losing my cool and yelling at you.
Stopping mid chew, Steve looked to his friend.
You had a rough night yesterday, and I'm sure this morning wasn't any better for you. I know you're just trying to help me. So, um, thanks for helping calm me down.
Stealing a glance, Abel could tell that his roommate was smiling from ear to ear. That big, stupid smile he hated so much. If hate was even the right word, he sneered.
Don't let any of that go to your head, got it? I'm simply saying thanks and offering an apology. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't know how to deal with that freaky paranormal shit as you might would think. I don't like it, and it goes against everything I stand for. I'm a man of science, and, well, when something happens that I can't find any scientific proof of, well, you saw what happens. It eats away at me. It bothers me down to my core. It's like something is there trying to tell me it's real or whatever, and I don't understand. How can I understand if it's so far fetched I can't even wrap my head around it? The things that shouldn't be, the things that can't be explained scientifically. How can people just accept it like it's no big deal?
Yeah, but Abe, nothing happened, you know? You just woke up from a nap when I got in, so your eyes were probably just playing tricks on you or something. You push yourself harder than you think you do. I'm not saying it was a straight up hallucination or anything, but I think your eyes are messing with you. That's my honest opinion. Maybe the light just hit the TV wrong. Maybe you were hungrier than you realized and it made your blood sugar drop or something. Don't get me wrong, I'd probably be freaking out too, but because I'd be that person who would be, oh God, didn't this happen in a horror flick once? Am I gonna die? I gotta find Abe and get the fuck out of here. You know, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't really think you saw anything weird. So try not to let it get to you, okay? It might have just been that streaming app being all weird, or maybe our internet just went out for a brief second. Abel fell silent for a moment, pulling his knees up to his chest and wrapping his arms around them as wrapping his arms around them as the movie carried on.
Sure, I'll go with that.
He breathed. As much as he wanted to agree with Steve being the realistic one for once, something about the whole instance just felt so wrong. Almost like it was a warning of some kind. He couldn't even hide the fact that the experience had killed any excitement he held for watching movies with his roommate either. A sigh fled from his lips. No matter which way he looked at the incident, nothing could convince him to simply just accept it that it happened and move on. Maybe he just should just go to bed and try to sleep off the whole ordeal or something. Sleep would fix that, right?
Actually,
Abel finally spoke up.
I think I'm just going to go to bed. Maybe you're right, Steve. Maybe I'm just tired. Plus, I do have to work tomorrow, anyways. I'll try to sleep off whatever this mood is, and we can do a rain check on the movie night. You cool with that?
His roommate looked to him, mouth full of food, while giving a slow nod. He watched as Abel slowly retreated back into his room before looking at the TV. His new enemy. Narrowing his eyes, Steve sat the food down, folding his hands in his lap as his face fell serious. All right, TV. You're gone and fucked up now. You've got until the end of next week to apologize to my friend before I wrestle you to the death. Technology or not, I know your weakness. I can and will overpower you, just like I did the fire alarm this morning. Be thankful that I, Steve, am being generous enough to allot you this much time to reflect on the consequences of your actions. Hearing the sound of a door opening, Steve looked back to see his roommate staring at him. Hey, Abe. Haven't you gone to sleep yet? Would you like me to turn the volume down any?
Steve, whatever you're thinking right now, don't break the TV. Please. We can't afford another one.
The man began to sweat bullets. What makes you think I would break the TV? Yes, nervous laugh to follow. Abel furrowed his brows.
You act like I haven't lived with you long enough to know you would blatantly threaten and destroy an inanimate object over absolutely nothing.
Steve stood. How can you say that what happened between you and the TV was nothing? It literally ruined our night together. It deserves to be fought to the death. Unmoved, the dark haired man crossed his arms, giving his head a slight tilt.
You're making it sound like the TV and I had some sort of falling out.
He shook his head.
Anyway, regardless of that so called incident, please refrain from inflicting violence on the TV.
After Abel had closed the door, Steve then looked at the TV, glaring once more. I don't know what kind of psychic powers you have, little dude, but don't think for a second that saved your skin.
And with that, we are going to take a short break because I am out of tea. So we will be back in. Does 10 minutes sound good to you, Brad?
Yeah, I'm down for that. Sorry, I was getting slightly distracted. My dog was like, "Hey, I need to jump off the bed and like do stuff," and I'm like, "I'm in the middle of reading. Thank you."
That's fine. You can take care of what of Buddy needs, and we will be back in 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Oh, hey, hello. We are back. Uh, so, gonna give it another minute or two in case anyone might be running behind. Uh, but, what do y'all think of Steve? Be honest with me. He's great, right?
I mean, I can't help but crack up every time I read his lines, so I would hope. I hope I'm portraying him well there.
Writing the dynamic between Abel and Steve has been the biggest highlight.
And I can see why now. Um, uh, that every time like I plays Willie and shit, and like you and I talk afterwards, you're just like, Jesus Christ, I have to deal with another one.
It's a great question. How has Steve survived this long? I wish I had an answer to that. I think it's just because he has a pretty face.
The issue is that he seems to have an issue with technology in general, and I feel like there's going to be a time where he's going to get into a fight with it, and he's not going to be able to win. Like there's going to be a TV that's going to be too strong for him.
He's gonna get his ass kicked by the Wii.
The controller bounces off the TV, and smacks him in the face, and knocks his ass out.
Would probably happen if it didn't go through the fucking TV.
Oh! You got one of those nice ass CRTs, and he just slaps it and bounces off of him.
Oh,
Poor guy.
Abel sets up like a little rubber screen to kind of fucking ricochets it.
Abe comes into the apartment and just sees Steve face down, ass up,
Uh,
a dent of a Wiimote in his face somewhere. He's snoring loudly.
it's like, yes, the season of idiots is upon us.
You're like, I don't have to watch Criminal Minds to know what happened here. Sad. It's a sad time.
It's a
Poor Steve,
great,
though.
it's a great time for Abel though.
Is it?
Oh, absolutely.
He just loves seeing this man try to form sentences.
Seeing this man literally, quite literally, trying to wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag.
Oh my god. The fact that he's trying to like choke out a fire alarm. This poor man.
I remember when I wrote that part, I was putting it in the Can't Believe chat because I was so proud of Steve arm locking a fucking fire alarm because he can and would.
He can and he would.
And he did. He did, quite literally.
I mean, he did succeed in the end, technically.
So now everyone knows Abel's type of men.
Oh no.
And I don't think anyone could really argue with that other than self his subconscious levels. Abel, is this really a migraine you want for the rest of your life? Quite honestly, probably.
I mean, I guess. It seems like the world has chosen this for me.
He has no choice. This is his destiny.
To
To fall in love with the stupid.
be surrounded by himbos for the rest of his life.
That's Nell's dream.
I mean,
I know Nell's probably idle or not idling, but she's probably just chilling there, soaking up the Steve vibes. Call my GM out. It's okay, because she'll fucking read my ass next session, so it's all good.
she's like, oh, okay, you're talking shit. Well, hold on.
Yeah. Probably.
Oh no.
Probably. You know, like, the the really upsetting instances where you find, like, your cat's playing with a plastic bag and they get their head caught in a little hole and they start freaking the fuck out. That's Abel walking in on Steve with his head caught.
Abe walks in on Steve and he's just like, Abe, help me. And he looks over and he's trapped underneath a clothes hamper.
Probably.
He's like, I can't get out. He's got like a little cup in there, and he's just like hitting on the outside of it, like like he's like he's locked in jail.
Yeah, probably.
Oh god.
Fuck, what is it? Like the magic 8 ball say, the probability is very likely.
Mm,
Alright.
disappointing.
Alright, well, we are going to move on to the second half of part 1. Things are going to heat up. So I hope y'all are ready. I hope y'all got some more snacks and some more delicious beverages. I did, by the way, Pookie, redeem my sip of hydrate. Brad, did you hydrate as well?
I'm gonna do that now.
Okay, we're good. We got this.
I'm gonna
Alright,
chug this.
please don't.
I got
Uh,
a thermos. I'm gonna squash it against my head like I'm a fucking jock. See how it goes.
uh, I'm judging you.
I'm just getting into character, okay?
Well, it's fine, because I'm already in character for Abel, so we're great.
Let's do it. Let's do this shit.
Alright. The following Sunday went rather quickly for Abel, mostly due to one of those hellfire days at work. It began when he woke to get ready, and then rushed to the local mall just some few miles down the road, having narrowly avoided running into a girl with pink hair holding on to a bag of fresh cookies, the sound of something small and vengeful hissing as he proceeded to run. He called back an apology in the process, of course, well before his destination came into view. The shopping plaza wasn't anything spectacular, nor was his store a decent sized Hot Topic with enough glass to concern a typical tornado enthusiast located within the vicinity of bumfucking nowhere, Ohio. The kids who worked there were just like the ones who worked any other place, each holding their own interest. Either they were there as some sort of punk rebel reluctantly forced into capitalism, or they were there just to get their way through college. Abel never really talked to any of them, though, nor did he personally care for their reasons. Not even the young teenager in the back of the store with the dark green hair who eyed him in the back like he was some kind of superhero or celebrity, sparkly eyed and all. Once the sun began to sink well beneath the city's skyline, Abel let out an exhausted sigh, turning the knob to his dorm room before entering. What a day. Steve looked up like a deer in headlights from the kitchenette, but quickly gave a wide smile, the dark haired man sneering in response as though disgusted. This was their normal, everyday exchange of silent greetings, especially any time Abel returned home from work. Steve, couch.
Rough day.
Yeah, he replied flat, throwing his bag on the ground and slamming the door shut.
Would you like me to make some of your favorite tea or Thai murder coffee?
Couch, he repeated again, this time more firmly. Steve walked over to the couch and sat down on it as Abel approached, throwing himself down onto it and resting his head in Steve's lap, letting out a long sigh, and then rubbed his face.
So,
Abel opened his eyes, staring up at Steve. I don't even know where the fuck to begin. It was literally nothing short of a shit show. I seriously hate people and humanity as a whole.
that's
Specific to the situation, yet contradictory for my field of interest, yeah, I know. But if I have to deal with another Karen, Steve, you may end up being without a roommate, as I'll have probably ended up in jail for attempted murder. Or, flagged for assault.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So, she comes in to make a return, right? No huge deal. Doesn't have a receipt on hand and can't find her order in the system. Makes a huge fucking fuss because I told her we can't do in store returns for online orders, which she so conveniently forgot to mention. Starts cussing me out, telling me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about or how to do my job, and then storms out like a fucking hurricane, knocking all our displays over in her wake. Abel pinched the bridge of his nose, groaning. Cleanup was not fun, nor was filing that report to my district manager. I swear if my apathy level wasn't high enough, I don't think the threat of losing my job could have saved her from just how many buttons she was pushing. She's lucky I disconnect the second I step through whatever gateway that storefront has. Steve stared for a moment, the visual playing out in his head of his roommate standing behind the counter, sipping some fancy venti coffee drink from Starbucks, pinky extended even, with a face that read nothing short of, I don't get paid enough for this. He could only offer a frown. What could he do to help his roommate feel better after a day like this? That was when an idea struck him.
Do you want a back massage? Will that help make you feel better, Abe?
Huh. Abel's cheeks flushed as he looked up at Steve again, caught off guard entirely.
They're relaxing.
He followed up.
I give them to Amanda all the time. She really likes them and when she's having a bad day.
Abel immediately sneered. Touch me, and I swear I'll break your fucking hands. Steve held up his hands, moving them away from his roommate.
It was just an offer.
As it shall remain. With another sigh, the dark-haired man sat up. Have you already made dinner?
Yeah, I was just about to start packing it up before you walked in.
Abel threw himself off the couch and headed towards the kitchen. What'd you make?
Chicken continental?
Sounds great to me. You cook a lot better than I do. He began to reach for a plate.
Oh, now that you're home.
Abel looked to Steve, mid-scoop of food, noticing excitement plastered all over the man's face.
I'm thinking about inviting some of our tech boys over Friday night for a round of Mario Kart. You interested? I wanted to ask before because I know you're not exactly fond of people. And, well, I wasn't exactly sure what all you had going on.
Sean and Ahmed, Abel asked, arching a brow.
Yeah, we're thinking about ordering pizza, too. It's going to be a great night.
Abel let out a hum. Letting out a hum, Abel resumed taking a portion of the skillet-made food, loading up extra bits of chicken before sitting down. I don't have any issues with them, and as far as I know, there are no tests coming up. However, Steve slowly began to sweat bullets.
However?
The man took the opportunity to look to his roommate with one sly smirk. Throw in a box of cheese bread and I'll take you all on. As though his favorite football team had just scored a touchdown, Steve stood up with a wide smile, shouting out,
Oh, hell yeah! It's fucking on like Donkey Kong, Abe! Consider your ass owned this Friday night!
Abel snorted, looking away. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, Blondie. Just because I don't play it as often doesn't mean I don't have other methods to use against you specifically.
That's cheating!
You can't call it cheating if you have no idea what I'm even talking about, Abel noted, looking to his roommate again while setting his fork down. What exactly was it you were thinking, Center? Get those thoughts out of your head. Steve felt himself shrink as he began to fidget with his fingers.
Sorry, Abe.
Apology accepted. Now, go get yourself a cold shower or something. Doing as instructed, he hung his head in shame, dragging his feet to his bedroom and then to the bathroom. In Steve's absence, Abel cast a curious glance to the TV, noting nothing unusual at first per se. He then looked to his plate of food, letting out a sigh. The incident still bothered him, still rubbed him the wrong way. It shouldn't have been any surprise, given it was literally last night, but he had hoped his head had already moved on. Standing up, he walked over and picked up the remote, hitting the power button and praying that his gut instinct would be wrong. There it was again. Static. Loud. Crackling. Shrieking even. Abel narrowed his eyes, seeing the same incident repeat exactly how it had the last time. He began to fidget with the remote, ruling out any and all suspicion that he could, including unplugging the TV from the wall. Still, it did it as it had before, even without power. How bizarre, he breathed out. As he took a step back to observe it, a tall man in a dimly lit alleyway suddenly appeared on screen, angled as though he were being recorded off of someone's security camera. Abel tilted his head curiously, wondering if Steve had been watching a movie before he got back. He knew that sometimes scary flicks like to utilize similar techniques, especially the more modern day ones trying to pay homage to films like the Paranormal Activity series. The man on the screen staggered a bit, his tattered trench coat seemingly covered in blood, as though he had either been in a fight or just got out of one. A low groan escaped through his clenched jaw, hot hisses fleeing just behind, as though breathing had become painful. This went on for what felt like a solid minute, when, realistically, it had been but half that in time. Then, his head whipped up to where he looked at Abel directly, shooting a piercing stare as though Abel had been the one spying on him. He then lunged forward without warning, bearing a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth. Abel couldn't deny that his heart leapt as he took a step back before hitting the power button, shutting off the TV, tripping over the coffee table, and falling back onto the couch. Jesus Christ! What was that? He exhaled, trembling. His brows then immediately furrowed again, as he stared down at the remote in hand. The TV had no power to it, so how? Why? What the hell was even going on?
You okay, Abe?
He looked to see Steve standing there with a towel draped over his drenched head. Huh?
You look like you fell. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Abel pulled himself up. I was just turning the TV on and some dumb jump scare movie you were watching caught me off guard, that's all. Steve stared back quizzically.
I wasn't watching anything, though.
Yeah, okay, whatever, Abel smirked. You're just trying to freak me out more, right? Because of the whole incident yesterday. His roommate could only stare back before shaking his head.
Come on, Abe. You know I wouldn't do that to you.
The honesty in Steve's tone, laced delicately with the drop of sadness that he would even be accused of something like that, forced Abel to realize that what Steve said was in fact true, though he didn't want to admit it. There was silence before...
I know I should have thrown that piece of shit out last night.
Steve, Abel warned.
No, Abe. You can't defend this thing anymore.
Steve, don't you dare. His roommate walked up to the TV, picking it up and beginning to walk towards the door.
Nope. This thing is going to the curb right now.
Steve, you fucking idiot. He quickly ran in front of him, placing both hands on the TV, trying to stop the well-built man from bulldozing forward. If you throw this out now, how are you going to have your Mario Kart Sausage Fest Friday? Well, the man looked down at Abel. We can't afford to just pick up a new one during the weekday. Steve looked to the TV in hand, and then to Abel again.
Sorry, Abe, but this TV's being a real jerk to you. I can't be having that. Ain't about to have no technology hurting my best friend.
Jesus Christ, you're so fucking stubborn and thick-headed, Abel shouted. Forget about me, alright? It's literally just a goddamn TV.
Yeah, and if it's just the TV, then you shouldn't have no issue with me throwing its ass to the curb,
Steve replied. Abel grunted, watching as Steve pushed past him, walking down the hall. Steven, if you throw that out, you can kiss your fucking autographed sports posters sayonara. Your desktop, too. The man stopped, flinching. Abel knew exactly where to hit. Don't think I won't. You bring that back here right this instance. Steve looked back, beginning to sweat bullets, in the moment of utter confliction. Steve, now, Abel shouted. He watched him look down to the TV, streaming tears down his face before suddenly bolting towards the stair. Motherfucker. God damn it, Steve. Why are you being like this? Letting out a sigh, Abel watched for a second as he began to gather himself. I really hate running. This idiot is going to pay dearly for this, he muttered before bolting after his roommate.
An hour followed, and the two found themselves a tired heap on the floor of their dorm, with Amanda standing before them, her hands on her hips. Of course, it would be her who would be able to reason with Steve, but also her would, who would drag the both of them back as though this were nothing out of the ordinary. The fact that she could lift Steve up and throw him over her shoulders was enough to amaze Abel every time. He was pretty sure she was stronger than his roommate, hands down. I swear.
I was
Yeah,
gonna ask
you
if
want me
you
to?
want me to read Amanda or if you want to.
Sure, I can do it. That's fine. I swear you two always cause so much commotion, she muttered, doing best to hide her own amusement. Abel, nearly breathless, looked to her as though he were fighting to keep conscious, his eyes barely open.
Yeah, well, if someone wasn't always trying to break the TV.
Steve looked away, his face pouting. Well, maybe the TV should think twice before it speaks to you in that tone again. Abel stared at Steve, dumbfounded, as though he had heard the dumbest thing in existence. As he drew a breath in to retaliate, Amanda cut him off. Steve, honey, listen to me. TVs don't talk, and Abel's right. She knelt down and gave him a pat on the head. Your intentions were good, honey. They really were, and you made me so proud when you stuck up for him. I'm always proud when you stick up for folks, but when Abel tells you no, you need to listen. When he says you can't afford something, he's probably right. Remember, he's the one who helps you manage your spending and also makes the payments on the bills. He's the one who manages your financial situation. Abel looked away, giving a short. I'm sorry, I'm laughing about that. Abel looked away, giving a soft snort.
I'm not always right, but my intentions are well enough.
He muttered.
I'm not acting like the TV is our last lifeline, but I do use it for my games and when we want to watch movies and shit.
He pulled himself off of Steve, and the three sat around each other with their legs crossed.
I'm not tech savvy like you, Steve. You know that. I can't play games at my laptop.
I could just build you a desktop, though, Abe. All you gotta do is ask. Abel shook his head.
I'm sure you could, but I get the most out of gaming when we're out in the living room, vegging out on the couch. That, to me, is the best experience.
As Steve's eyes lit up, he immediately looked away and gave a sneer, his cheeks flushing.
I've said too much. Forget that entirely. It's not important.
He muttered with distaste. See, honey? Heck, I'm sorry, Abe, Steve said, scratching the back of his head.
Yeah, well,
Looking to him, the man quickly averted his tired eyes, crossing his arms.
just don't do it again, okay? I hate running.
Amanda laughed. Sounds like I'm going to have to make you my jogging partner, my jogging partner in the morning. Don't worry, Abel. I can definitely help you with your stamina. Abel whipped his head towards Amanda, alarmed.
Please don't.
He pleaded.
I'm not built for that.
Aw, come on, Abel. You don't want all them ladies watching you, he sneered. Or men? He sneered. His sneer widened. Or those that don't fall into the binary spectrum, or in between? Steve leaned in and whispered, Abe, it's not really a fan of sweating, dear. Or getting dirty. Or people staring at him in general. That's why he always acts so unfriendly. Oh, right. He's like a cat. I forgot, she replied, tapping a fist into her other hand. You're so smart, honey. She then reached up and pinched Steve's cheek. Abel looked back, watching Steve melt like a big goof at the praise and attention.
Right then, so are we done here?
He asked, brushing off the flowers and sparkles that had flown his way.
I've got class in the morning, so.
Right. Steve looked at his girlfriend, who smiled and nodded. Before Abel could react, his roommate had pulled both him and Amanda into one big old tight hug. A really tight hug. So tight that Abel was pretty sure that the entirety of his spine cracked, every last drop of air being forced out of his lungs.
Steve, too tight.
Abel fought to get out, his face flushing more. All Amanda could do was laugh until the man finally let go. This was Abel's simple dorm life on university's grounds. These were the people who knew him best, and the ones he casually spent his downtime with. These were also the people he could trust and confide in. He wasn't exactly someone who went out of his way to make friends, nor was it something he cared to do. But those he had allowed in his life, those were the ones he was perfectly content with keeping close. Secretly, he didn't want it to end. He didn't want it to change. He was really bad with change.
The week flew by, and before anyone knew what happened, Friday had already arrived in full swing. Most of the early afternoon had been spent tidying up the place, Abel doing it himself and making Steve stay out of his way so he could ensure it was spotless, despite Steve's frequent protest that his friends didn't care what their place looked like. I get that, Steve, but this is just a force of habit of mine.
Yeah, but you'll just end up cleaning the place again after they leave.
That's fine. Don't act like I don't do this already to you, Abel replied, resting his hands on his hips. The sound of knocking immediately paused their conversation, making Abel raise a brow and look at the clock.
Are they here already?
Steve asked. I guess time flew by, Abel muttered. Steve swung the door open, bearing a big smile that Abel often sneered at, but he surprisingly kept it hidden, casually sipping at his can of pop in hand. Would you like to voice Sean and Ahmed?
Sure. Hey, we're here!
Sean sang out, both him and Ahmed walking in. The both of them were close in height, perhaps an inch or two taller than Abel. Sean had short, shaggy brown hair, blue eyes, and sported a simple gray Nintendo t-shirt with some jeans and black and white Vans. Ahmed, on the other hand, had a head full of short, tight brown curls that, with either side of his head shaved, brown eyes, and wore a simple white button-up shirt, jeans, and a pair of All-Star Converse.
Oh, hell yeah! It's gonna be such a wicked night!
Steve shut the door behind them before adding on.
The pizza will be here soon, so I hope y'all are hungry. Came plenty prepared with my appetite, dude.
Sean replied with an accomplished smile.
You say you're supplying food. I'll come prepared and ready to eat whatever you throw on the counter.
Ahmed noticed Abel in the kitchen and waved.
Hey, Abel, you joining us tonight?
He offered a nod. Yeah, I think so.
Sick. It's gonna be awesome.
Abel gave a small smile and then another nod at Ahmed's response before replying back. I have obligations to make Steve eat words, so if y'all have the opportunity to help me win against him, you know what to do. Sean gave an expression nothing short of, oh shit, before looking to Steve.
Damn, dude. Abe's going straight for the throat. I like that. The competition tonight will be fierce. Abe, you can't just use my friends against me like that.
Steve retorted.
That's not fair.
Abel smirked, setting his can on the counter. I said I had means I could use to win against you, didn't I? If it's a mutual agreement, then all of us making sure you come in last place is absolutely not cheating. He waved about a hand as if dismissing Steve's remark. Besides, we're all playing fairly here. It's not like we plan to cheat, we're just upping the difficulty against you, is all. Testing your abilities as a true gamer. Steve frowned. As Abel turned to walk towards the living room to get the switch hooked up, he simply stated, Guess that just puts your mad skills to the test, gamer. As y'all say in your department, get good, scrub. Sean's jaw dropped as he watched the dark-haired man for a second before looking to Steve.
Damn, he's on fire tonight. It's almost like you pissed him off real good.
Steve began to sweat bullets, thinking back to Sunday.
Yeah.
Both Sean and Ahmed shot their friend a look, falling silent.
Wait, you didn't, did you?
Sean muttered. Steve remained silent, looking at the ground. He would have remained in whatever thoughts were there had a knock on the door not alerted everyone to someone else's arrival. Ah, that was fast, Abel remarked, standing up, his nonchalant tone easing the tension that had been trying to weasel its way in. Sean, Ahmed, could you two help Steve with that? Money's on the counter, along with the tip. Sean took a step out of the way as Steve opened the door up again, grabbing the money off the counter as instructed and handing it to the pizza delivery guy after the other two had taken the food. They then thanked the man and shut the door, the smell of delicious, greasy party food filling the dorm. Once they arranged it in the kitchenette's counter, they all gave a hearty cheers and a toast. The good times were about to roll on in through the night, banana peels and all. Or so. That's what Abel wanted to believe. How he wanted to believe that more than anything.
A few hours had pressed on, and the night already was beginning to grow late, it seemed. The gathering was beginning to lose steam now, as a few began to sober up from their drunken state, having swapped from Mario Kart to Smash Bros. At this point. Sean stood up, stumbling over in the kitchen to grab himself another beer. As he opened the door, he paused, staring down at the empty fridge. Hey, Steve. The man looked up and over to his friend. Yeah? You got any more beer? There isn't any in the fridge? Nah. Abel cocked a brow.
Y'all went through that much already? I don't know if I should be disgusted or amazed.
Steve looked at Abel.
Want me to go on a booze run?
It's fine, Abe. I can go, Steve insisted.
They're your guest. Plus,
He narrowed his emerald gaze at his roommate.
pretty sure I'm the only one sober as is. I don't mind going, honestly.
You sure, Abe? Ahmed and Sean also looked at Abe as the dark-haired man began to walk towards the door.
Yeah, I'll just hit up that store around the corner.
He paused for a moment, looking up at the ceiling.
What was it called again? Odds and Ends? Eric's Grocers? Something like that. They should still be open.
He reached for the knob before looking back.
Point in case, it isn't far, so you drunken fools hold out for a little bit. I won't be long.
You're seriously the best, Abe, Steve called out, his eyes dampening. Abel sneered in response before opening the door and slipping on out through, shutting it behind him. The dimly lit halls and the flickering bulbs didn't seem out of the ordinary to him at first, nor the uncomfortable silence, given the time of night. Nothing more than your everyday life in the poorly funded university. The building needing a lot more than just a maintenance repairs, but the Housing Commission always stating they would add it to their laundry list. It would get done when it needed to get done, as though simple rewirings were much more difficult than repairing the entire plumbing some 2 floors beneath them. So much for keeping things up to code, he thought as he rolled with a roll of his eyes. It was how much longer before this place was condemned? Even in the late night air the early spring offered, chill managed to crawl up Abel's spine as the alleyway came into view. forcing him to pull his sweater closer while wrapping his arms tight around his torso. Out of habit, he looked around before hastening his pace through the dark and narrow path, trails of his hot breath lingering behind. Unfortunately, this was the quickest way to get to the store, and he hated it every time. During the day, it wasn't as bad, but at night, Abel questioned again why he felt obligated to volunteer for something like this. As the end of the alleyway came into view, he heard the metallic song of trash cans falling over, pulling his attention as he fought from leaping forward. He stopped dead in his tracks, feeling his paranoia begin to creep up in the pit of his stomach, almost like someone had been watching him, or even worse, following him.
Stay calm, Abel. Just stay calm.
He turned around, squinting his eyes as though he would have been able to see in the dark, but even still, he saw no one there. At least nothing he could determine to be the shape of another human. Perhaps it was a stray cat or a raccoon, he thought before turning around.
Fuck, I hate this.
He muttered to himself,
I knew I should have brought one of those idiots with me.
letting out a defeated sigh. He quickly forced himself around the corner and into the store, feeling a sudden weight lift from his shoulders the moment he became bathed in the bright LED lights.
Oh, thank fuck.
He thought to himself, casting back a nervous glance.
I'm suddenly having mad regrets about making this run. Not that there's much I can do now, I'm already here, but this is probably the last time I volunteer for those drunken buffoons.
Abel's thoughts then paused after taking a step. He stared up at the loudspeakers quizzically, before looking to the middle-aged man waving at him from behind the counter. The store owner, no doubt. He was well-built, with salt-and-peppered colored hair, and gave off the impression of a father who was as honest as he was as hardworking. "Welcome to Rogers Groceries. They're certainly out late," the man noted with both smile and nod. Deciding not to question the Wii Shop music playing, Abel simply raised a brow to the man, still holding his body tight.
Yeah.
He paused for a moment.
Is the alcohol in the back?
"Yes," the man replied back in question.
Great.
Without anything else to add, Abel simply turned and began to head towards the back of the store. Along the way, he noted to himself that while the store was bright and clean, the aisles remained bare. Not in terms of stock, but lacking in people. Then again, it was also late, so the store was probably right at the cusp of closing for the night, which meant he should make the which which meant he should make the trip quick so he didn't hold them up. If there was one thing he absolutely hated, it was holding someone up from closing down for the night. When he reached the aisle with the alcohol, he scanned over it, paying no attention to the shuffling of someone taller stocking things in the cooler directly beside him. He let out a soft hum before opening the glass door and reaching in for a case of some generic beer. He wouldn't be the one drinking this, so it didn't matter to him one bit. On second thought, he looked down at it, and then back at the cooler. What if Steve wanted some? Do, do you need help, sir? Abel let out an aggravated sigh, glaring at the beer in hand.
Whatever. It's not like I personally care or anything.
He muttered, turning to head towards the counter, completely ignoring the question the lad beside him had asked. Reaching to his apron pocket, the young man pulled out a Snickers bar, slowly taking a bite out of it, beginning to stare off into space at nothing in particular. "Did you find everything you needed?" the man at the register asked, noticing Abel approaching.
Yeah.
He sat the case on the counter, then reached in his back pocket for his wallet, pulling out his ID before handing it over. He watched as he squinted at the piece of plastic before passing it back. "I have a son around your age," he replied, scanning the barcode and pushing some buttons on the cash register.
Ah, that's neat.
Abel replied back flat, looking to see the man's name tag read Eric. He shifted his weight from one leg to the other, and the time silence exchanged between them. After a minute had passed and nothing else had been said, he then handed him some cash, took hold of the beer, and began heading towards the door.
Anyway, thanks.
The second he stepped outside, he was greeted by the rush of cool air. He immediately frowned, releasing a small shiver and a hot breath. The uneasy feeling from before was quick to follow, applying weight on his shoulders and a heavy stomach. Just what he wanted. Immediately, Abel took in his surroundings. The eerie silence of a sleeping town settling in beneath the silver moon was all there was. Nothing out of the ordinary, it would seem, which was good, yes, but the stillness to the town itself brought him little comfort. He let out a sigh.
God damn. This place is too fucking creepy at night. Next time I decide to be the nice guy and go on a booze run, I'm making Ahmed come with me.
He looked towards the alleyway.
It's a good thing the dorms are so close. Even if this does shave 10 years off my life, those bastards better be grateful.
Abel turned around the corner, stalking into the damn congested pathway that he loathed, perhaps even feared. It had been no more than 5 minutes into walking. He suddenly noticed the path itself felt longer? Was that right? He looked over his shoulder and back before him. The lights on either end seemed to be more distant than they had been before, and the night air felt as though it were biting harder, the tips of Abel's fingers turning red from the cold. He let out an aggravated sigh.
I knew I should have avoided the fucking alleyway.
He muttered, throwing his head back.
Ugh, this is so stupid.
Drawing in a breath to add something else on, he found himself cut off by a trash can tipping over not far behind.
These fucking raccoons.
As Abel went to turn his body around, his eyes fell on a tall, human-like figure, his voice falling mid-sentence. Though he stood a distance away, Abel felt his heart leapt into his throat, beginning to kick hard. Part of him wished it hadn't been so dark so that he could see who this person was more clearly. But the other part of him was thankful, for it allowed him to feign ignorance and play off the fact that he was utterly terrified right now.
Jesus, dude.
He began, letting out a heavy exhale.
You startled me. Look, I know the lighting here isn't the greatest. You should probably watch your step or something. There's no telling what people nowadays are throwing out, but I can guarantee you it isn't money. Not in this part of Ohio.
Turning back around, Abel resumed walking onward, casting a weary glance over his shoulders every so often, noticing the man was still following. He wanted to be scared, and, truth be told, he was. But realistically, he thought that perhaps the man was simply trying to also reach the other end of the alleyway. This was the quickest route from the grocery store to the university's dorms. Abel glanced down at the case of beer in tow, furrowing his brows at another question that came to mind. How long had he been walking for now?
This is starting to freak me out.
He whispered to himself, knowing the alleyway had few escape routes, an entrance and an exit. Abel let out another sigh, going to turn around to say something else to the man trailing him. But as he did, his face came but inches away from the figures. Startled, he leapt back.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Give me some space, will ya? Seriously, what's your fucking problem?
That was when he noticed a tattered trench coat, stained in something dark and wet. It looked fresh, given how it reflected what little light there was. Abel froze, his stomach flipping over on itself as the smell of decay and rotten flesh drifted his way. He drew up the hand to cover his mouth, feeling himself about to get sick as he watched each hot breath the man hissed flee into the night. He knew exactly who it was. It was the man who appeared on the TV.
Shit.
Abel began looking around out Abel began looking around out of instinct, despite knowing there was no escape, no doors to be seen, let alone any to be unlocked during this hour. He dropped the case of beer, taking a step back every time the figure advanced his own.
Look, I don't know what you want, but leave me the fuck alone. If you want that cheap ass beer, go right ahead and take it. Just take it and go.
The man exhaled unrecognizable words, the one Abel was fairly certain he caught, and he wished he so dearly hadn't. Blood. He wanted blood. Never before had Abel turned around so quickly in his life, sprinting into a full-on run with the man hot on his trail. It was in the panic he took notice that what should have been a straight path had now become filled with various twists and turns, as though the alleyway had suddenly become some sort of twisted maze, like the ones used in the research facilities. Now and again, he found himself facing a dead end, hastily picking a different path until he ultimately reached one that had no end. Before he could turn around, the man lunged onto him, Abel struggling to fight and push the man away with all the strength he could muster up.
Get off, bastard!
Abel grunted. It was a losing battle for the poor boy, as whoever this man was, if you can even call him that, had strength far superior to that of any humans. It was overpowering, and something Abel knew he had never experienced before. There was no way he'd break free. The monster released a wicked snarl, growing impatient and hungrier by the minute. It opened its mouth wide, bearing rows of razor-sharp teeth, before latching down onto Abel, ripping the side of his neck wide open before he realized what happened. His shaken emerald eyes grew from the pain, watching drops of his own blood splatter against the wall in front of him. His body shook, trembled, even as his arms and his hands felt the warm liquid racing down. Abel parted his lips to say something, but no words left. But no words fled. Not even a soft plea for help had the strength to come forth.
Tisk tisk.
Came a disappointed voice.
That's not how we play nicely here.
There was a sharp howl of pain as the monster released its hold on Abel, throwing him into the wall. With what strength he had, he managed to slowly turn himself around, his legs fighting to stand as he held his gaping wound. He watched as the monster turned into a pile of glistening ash before dropping to his knees, gasping for air, his vision growing darker. He wanted to speak up, to ask if this was how he was going to go. He was unable to deny that thought of something this shitty happening really pissed him off. And it also wounded his pride, on the other hand. A lot, even. That dream of his. Working for some big name pharmaceutical company, moving somewhere far the fuck away. Was that all for nothing now? And Steve? Who was going to take care of that idiot when Amanda was busy? In the mix of emotions, he wanted to feel each of them. Pain, panic, regret, anger, even sadness. Instead, he found himself giving in to the deep fall of exhaustion. The last thing he heard before shutting his eyes was a pair of heeled boots walking his way, along with the gentle words,
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? I suppose I'll have to help you out then. And there we have it. Part 1 of Abel's tale. So,
Holy but Jesus.
right? I'm
There's a lot going on.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
Hmm, that was really good. I liked it.
So, chat, what'd y'all think of that?
Once again, I really do enjoy the dialogue that everybody has with one another. It
I
sounds fun.
I am pretty good about writing banter when it comes to that.
Well, there definitely wasn't too many times where I got tongue tied in the actual like dialogue parts. So like that's like already like a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, ooh.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's pretty good.
yeah.
I will admit that I am not good, or I have no experience, anyways, in writing horror esque bits, but this definitely was fun to write.
I mean, and I could definitely tell that you had a good time with it just from reading it and like uh very fun straight man. Yeah.
Yes, I always write my characters straight.
Very very straight and narrow and
Do I have a straight character? Have
that's
I?
a great question.
Yeah, it is. Because usually I make them all gay because I love gay characters.
See, I don't even know all your characters and I just assumed they would be. And which is fine. I like that.
Safe bet when it comes to anything I write, never assume my characters are straight. You're like, alright, how gay is this one gonna be?
When is the gay coming?
Exactly.
It reminds me so much of that one stream that we had with and Boo-lieve. Like
Yes. The one with Willie hugging Abel.
yeah. I heard I was busy doing something and I heard the sound of gay, so I had to come back and take a look.
That is the response I strive for daily.
And that wasn't even like that wasn't even planned out.
No, it wasn't. You
Nothing.
it was just Willie being Willie. Of which, by the way,
Oh.
what did you think of certain Can't Boo-lieve characters showing up?
Is that a direct question to me or is that for everybody involved?
For everyone.
I do feel like the representation was good, and I also was happy to reprise my role in another form of uh thing. You know what I mean? Something outside of technically believe.
I was hoping you would catch on that that was Willie.
Oh yeah, I mean the man is eating Snickers bars. I mean, come on, like
Yeah. Just fucking pulls a Snickers bar while out on shift and is like, Snickers.
I
Eric's
tried
fucking staring at him.
the Wii Shop music being played in the background of the store.
If Nintendo wouldn't fucking hit me for that, trust me, I would have played that the second you got to that part. I wanted
like
to so bad.
like legitimately in the stream is just like boop 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 boop.
Yup.
It's
I
unfortunate.
I wanted to so bad. It was really hard to contain myself.
I mean, the question is why would Eric allow Willie to have uh like any like control over the loudspeakers and or like the music that is happening in said store?
That's a question you should ask yourself.
I mean, I'm asking you, but I probably shouldn't know the answer. I think it's more fun when people tell me about my character.
When I wrote that in mind, I will shit you not, that entire part, I because I listen to music while I write certain scenes to get in the mood, and that was that time that so context for chat. I was sending Brad a rant via Messenger, and all he could hear in the background was me going off on something and just Wii Shop music going in the background.
Yeah,
And
I zero idea what the fuck was going on. I'm like, I don't even remember what you said. What the hell are you doing? Like,
he was like, I will be honest, I can't take anything seriously right now with the sound of Wii Shop music going on in the background. And I'm like, that's perfectly fair. That is
yeah,
perfectly fair.
because I remember it being like kind of like semi-serious, and that was the best part. I'm like, listen, dude, I want to be attentive for this, but I can't. I just can't.
I I'm pretty sure I'm trying to think. I listened to it on loop for probably maybe 4 hours per writing session, if
Oh my
that.
god, how did
And
you even do that?
it was for 3 days, at least. I think I can't remember at this point, but let me tell you, I definitely probably lost a brain cell or two from that.
I mean, you have joined the echelon of Steve and Willie dumb. So, I mean, I feel like that could be a slight against you, but at the same time, I feel like that's more than a compliment.
The Wii Shop music was very fitting for release scene. Just walking into a grocery store and that's all you hear first, and you're like, I just got out of a scary ass situation, and now I'm caught off guard by this.
It's such a jarring juxtaposition. It's like you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, why am I here? No, I thought it was really funny. I really liked that. And as soon as we got to that scene, I really couldn't hold myself back a little bit because I was just kind of like, I couldn't help but laugh.
It, it was good times. And then I even figured out a way to interlace Rose in there. For those who may not have taken notice about the pink-haired girl holding the freshly baked bag of cookies with something small and menacing yelling at Abel for having almost run into them.
Oh man, you know what? That's actually funny because I kind of glazed over that. I remember that part, but like, I kind of glazed over that.
That was Rose.
Oh my god!
I figured out a way. I had to message Shy and was like, hey, so, would Rose, like, venture out and check out stores and stuff if she were in the vicinity? And, I believe the answer was put in layman's terms was yes. Um, so.
Only for food though,
Oh, yeah, only for food. That's why there are cookies.
and especially chocolate because obviously a thorn.
Exactly.
Perfect. I love it. I was wondering. I was like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, oh yeah, no, that makes total sense now.
Yeah. So, there we have it. That is the first part of Abel's tale. Um, I will be leaving this up for however long. Usually I don't leave my readings up, but because this is Abel and not part of my unpublished story, I can do this. I will also be in time putting this up on Camp Boo-lieve's Ko-fi for people to go back and read. If they wish to go back and listen to it, it will be highlighted on my Twitch channel. So, because I forgot to hit record, so guess who doesn't have a recording? I'll only have a highlight because I'm dumb.
Hey, uh, uh, Nell even asked to have us save the VOD because she was unfortunately not able to participate tonight. So we definitely gotta throw that up there at the very least for
I
her.
didn't know she wanted me to record it. Fuck. Well,
Yeah,
I'll hi-
yeah.
I'll highlight it. It's fine.
There you go.
It'll be up for a highlight. She can go back and listen to it while at work.
This is awkward. I mean, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. We'll figure it
I mean, yeah, that it'll get figured out. She now can go back and watch it. She's so So captivated by Steve.
Well, hopefully she enjoys the entirety of everything that happened, along with our portrayal of everything.
Yeah, and let me just say that, so I'm working on part two. Um, I've hit a roadblock, but that's no surprise. That's the writer's life, right? And I'll get it done. I hate giving myself deadlines because I never follow them. But I'm going to try to have it done in maybe some 3 months.
Well, I think that's more than that's more than attainable. But if hey, you know what? If it doesn't get done during that period of time, we got
Pookie
time.
with the peep emote. Peep emote in chat. Uh, yeah. So we will end the stream with that. Um, if y'all want to, be sure to give Brad a follow on Twitter. I don't have a shout out command
Oh,
because,
that's okay.
well, that's not okay. Um,
I'm uh, I'm I'm
live.
I'm trying my best to figure out how to be more active on social media because I feel like I probably should be, but I'm a very shy person. So, and it's really funny because I'm like, oh, I'm shy, but I like doing voiceover. So,
You do like doing voiceovers, and you did really good.
oh, thank you, I appreciate that, and I think you did a great job too. Obviously, I mean, I think everybody here, everybody say thank you, Alex, but also say thank you, Shy, just because.
Drop the thank shies in chat.
Yeah.
So I dropped the link to Brad's Twitter. Be sure to give him a follow. Um, do I have your website?
Probably not. Here, I can throw it in there.
I've got Bravely Bound RPG, but that is very not your website. Oh, wait, no, no, I don't. I lied.
I was gonna say that would be awesome, but that's okay. That's okay. I can throw it in there.
I thought I had it bookmarked, but apparently I know I had it bookmarked.
I should probably have it bookmarked myself
You
because
don't,
I'm like I need to.
you don't have your website bookmarked.
Nah, I check it every now and then. Yeah, no. If for any reason you guys want to have any voiceover done or like just like my voice and just want me to say stupid stuff for you and to the mic and shout you out or something like that, you can go ahead and take a look at
Oh,
my
you have to send
website
it
and
to
just
me.
I do. Oh no. Okay, here I'll do that. 1 second here. Here you go. There you go. You got it. But
Fuck, that opened it. I wanted to copy pasta that shit. I can't technology. I'm a vampire.
wait, we did it.
Yeah.
We're
Um,
so good.
be sure to, if you need any English audio, to definitely shoot Brad a query.
Yeah, and you can listen to some of like my videos and stuff I have on there, and some of my more professional demos. I'm gonna be updating my website a little bit more here soon and trying to get all situated. But yeah, give it a check out if you guys are interested.
Yeah. As of now, we don't have a tentative date for the next episode of Can't Believe, so I cannot drop any information. Um, but be sure to follow Can't Believe on Twitter at Can't Believe. And we will also post notices as well on our coffee page. You can see the link in the lower corner, ko-fi.com/haphazardrules. Uh, that is where we will be deciding uh, future campaigns after Can't Believe has closed, which will be very sad, but time must press forward as
I mean,
you can only delay a game for so long.
all good things must come to an end. But you know what? I think when it comes, I think we'll all be happy about it, or at least I hope we will, because Jesus Christ, if any of us die, it's gonna be awful. So, but anyway,
Let's not give Nell any ideas because she can be ruthless.
I feel like she's gonna try to murder at least one of us. And I have a sneaking suspicion it's gotta be me.
She would if the dice allotted for that, and uh, if she felt like it, but I don't think she would. I hope not.
She is a benevolent god.
Don't spite Nell when she is your GM. We learned that from when we went against her back with the Willie Abel moments of gay.
Yeah, well, you know what? She technically deserved that though.
Did she?
She was she was doing a lot of trifling behind our backs.
Was she?
You seen all the stuff she was doing? I'm just saying, man. We had to pay her back in full.
I
And
mean, our relationship with Nell is kind of us acting up and Nell being like, listen here, you little shits. And us being like, oh yeah, listen here.
and we're just like flailing our arms at her, going, "Yeah,
We're all
what?"
we're all wacky, inflatable arm flailing two men.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with that.
But yes, that is all we have for tonight. So thank you all for coming here. Have a great Saturday. I hope your weekend will be fantastic. So, with that, I will be ending the stream. Again, thank you all for coming. I love each and every one of you.